All right, namaste everybody. Today we're going to continue the ongoing rendering of Bhagavad Gita of 42 slokas arranged by Ramana Maharshi. So if you recall, last time we recorded up to 20. So just to recollect so that you will get into the ongoing ones now, I'm going to tell you about what are the 20 verses in a nutshell. Basically, we want to remember these verses and understand Bhagavad Gita, get the essence of it so that we can apply it in our lives. Okay. The most important verse was number 4, in this list, which is in chapter 10, verse 20. That is about he talks about him being in everybody. He means the Lord Krishna, represented by the unconditional consciousness, absolute consciousness that is present in all living beings, not just human beings. So he is present, the divine force is present in all living beings. He is the beginning, middle, and end of it. So the whole thrust of Bhagavad Gita and Ramana Maharshi's message is that we are not the body-mind complex. We are the absolute consciousness within which body-mind actually appears. So it's only a manifestation of the body and the mind, which we are always thinking that is us. So we kind of get attached to this body, attached to the mind and the thoughts and emotions in it, and think that is us. So we're always dictated and ruled by the body-mind complex. So to really understand this and be with it is the goal of human life. Understand that the divinity is within us and to be in that divinity all the time and use the body and mind for the simple mundane things. But we make the other things are big deal, and the body is a big deal and the mind is a big deal. And then we kind of suffer because of that. So Ramana said the most important verse, if you have to read one, that is that. Okay. Oh Gudakesa, I exist in all living beings. I am the beginning, middle, and end of it. So we have to get in touch with that. How do you do that? By being still. Who is going to be still? The movement of thought, the identification that certain name, certain personality, certain views, certain thinking patterns, all those things we think we are has to be transcended into that consciousness and well in that consciousness all the time while you are doing things also or reading or in other thoughts also, you have to regain this. So that is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, if I stop here, that is enough. That one particular sloka, if we can really understand and be with it and practice it in our daily lives, then we will be relieved of the suffering that is caused by identification with the body-mind complex. Deham, naham, koham, soham. Deham means body-mind complex. The 5 layers, 5 sheets of body-mind complex. That is not us. Then who am I? I am the Soham. Soham means absolute consciousness. So this absolute consciousness is always there. It is never born, never dies. So once you realize that, then body-mind complex becomes easy to manage. And also, we will not create suffering for ourselves. Okay? So who is that suffering? Body. Who is that suffering? Mind. Because we identify with that, we suffer too. How do we do it? By going out. Our senses, our intellect, always going out, right? So what we do is we identify with that outflow of thought, intellect, outflow of senses, and that's why we create all the problems. That's why the aim of human life, because you are conscious being, you have to get inside, turn inside, and then find that divine force, which is they call Sat Chit Anand. Okay, so now let's go into what did he say in the 21 verse of this 42. Okay, for those who have destroyed ignorance using knowledge, that knowledge, like the shining sun, illuminates the supreme within. So for those who have destroyed ignorance using knowledge, that knowledge, like the shining sun, illuminates the supreme within. The supreme is within, and having this knowledge, which we talked about just now, having that knowledge dispels your ignorance that you are the body-mind complex, and that shines, the supreme within shines. So what is most important is gaining this knowledge. This knowledge they call the Brahma Vidya. Vidya about Brahman. The Brahman is that unconditional absolute consciousness. So once you know that, then your ignorance will be dispelled and you will supreme within will shine like a sun. See, when the sun comes, the darkness goes completely. Like that, this knowledge comes, our ignorance is a darkness. That's why they said, Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Tama Soma Jyotirgamaya. From darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge. That's what it is. Okay. And then Mrityorma Amrutam Gamaya. That means from getting born, dying again, from that mortality to immortality. Okay. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amrutam Gaya. Then you become Asatoma Sadgamaya. You see the equanimity in everybody by traveling from the ignorance to the knowledge, by realizing this immortal self. From mortality you move to immortality. Okay, everything is connected to the central theme, which is expressed in verse 4 of this series that we studied. Okay, I can't express more importance on that. Okay, that's why Ramana said, if you have to read Bhagavad Gita, read this particular verse and then live it. Okay, that's the most important thing. Live it. Okay, then we're going to go to the next verse in the series. We just did 21, right? So if you guys have read about this, it will be easier for you now. But you have not read about the homework that I gave you, then I'm just going to go through each one and then you can see. Okay, so 22 is, here you want to understand our body mind structure and our interior absolute consciousness. 22, senses are superior to the body, mind is superior to the senses, intellect is superior to the mind, but the Atman is superior to the intellect. So the senses are outward going, and the body is called sthula. That means gross body. That body has the senses within it, and so body is inferior to the senses. Senses can go and control your body. So body first, then senses, then mind. No, not mind. Body, senses, intellect, and the mind, and then Atma. So one is interior to the other. So what he's saying is, senses are superior to the body. The body is controlled by senses. Okay, and then those senses are inferior to the mind. Okay, and then the mind is inferior to the intellect, and the Atman is superior to the intellect. So order is senses, body, mind, intellect, and the soul. So if you understand body as the gross body, the senses are more alert and aware, and they drive on their own. They see something, they react and all that. Where they react? They react in the mind. Mind is what? Made up of a lot of thoughts. And then all your understandings, all your conclusions, all your learning, they become the intellect. And beyond that intellect is our Atman. So you can place that. Senses are superior to the body, mind is superior to the senses, intellect is superior to the mind, but the Atman is superior to the intellect. Go and read about it and see where you are. Are you at the body level? Are you at the senses? Are you at the mind with thoughts? Are you at the intellect with your understandings? And are you at the Atman level where all those other things are still quiet by understanding, by knowing? Okay, so that's a long journey people make, because they dab into this and that, but they never personalize that understanding within their life as it is happening. Remember, life is a mirror of how you are. It reflects to you how you are. You have to study that. That means you have to separate from that mirror image, study the image, and then change it. Okay, just by studying itself, the change happens. Okay, so this is not just like a reading book or reading any scriptures. None of them will help unless you internalize this understanding. Okay, so then the next verse is uh, thus knowing that Atman is higher than intellect and subduing the outer self by the Atman, defeat that formidable foe appearing in the form of desire. The whole thing is the Sadguna Atma, where all those Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Matamasya can be condensed to one word: desire. If you don't have desire, none of those things will be there. So that is an enemy, because desire in the form of physical needs are not really desire. What you want more than that is the desire in the ultimate way of looking at it as a. So what he's saying is, knowing that Atman is higher than intellect and then subduing it, the outer self by the Atma, defeat that form of foe, the dangerous, formidable foe appearing in the form of desire. So this is kind of deep, because you cannot kill desire. You cannot say I am bad because I am desirous. That is not the way it works. You have to really do what is called self-study, self-knowing, Atma Gnana. That means how you are. Are you reacting at the senses level and the senses are not allowing you to function because they want to take you in a different direction, and then you are weak and you are really dominated by them, so that you form any form of pleasure is through the senses, right? But if you are addicted to the form of pleasure, that means the senses are driving you. That desire that is behind the senses is driving you. So you first have to pay attention to where you are. Don't blame yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't have to be depressed about it. Just to see it as you are, how you are. And then out of that seeing itself, things will come out. So what he is saying is, knowing that Atman is higher than the intellect, which we consider the highest, and subduing the outer self by the Atman. That means you give preference to the Atma. Atmanishta means you stay in the Atman. Then you are subduing the entire body-mind complex. Then what happens? You are destroying that formidable foe, which is desire, which is responsible for the suffering. Okay? That is number 23. Let's go to 24 now. Just as the blazing fire reduces firewood to ashes, the fire of knowledge reduces all karma to ashes. So what he is saying here is, okay, you have seen the firewood really turning into ashes by the blazing fire. Just like that, your firewood is your karma, that you have built it up or that you are creating for yourself. Either by good deeds or bad deeds, you will gain karma. Okay, all that will turn to ashes if you know that you are the Atman. Okay, so this knowledge, the fire of knowledge, that is the fire. That knowledge is the fire, reduces your firewood of karma to ashes. So how do you get moksha? How do you get out of this birth and death cycle? Just by knowing this. That's why this is called Atma Gnana or Brahma Vidya. So once you understand that, then you will be get rid of all karma that you are accumulating, or you're going to accumulate, or you had had it in the past. Okay. Then 25 is, the pursuits of the wise are not motivated by desire. Their actions are purified by the fire of wisdom. So a gnani and an agnani, what's the difference? In a gnani, they are not motivated by desire. So they give up everything by understanding, okay, not by suppressing. You cannot suppress desire, or you cannot indulge it completely. You have to watch it, and you have to see the movement of it. You have to understand it. Then the desire will be overcome. The desire will be transcended, not by your effort, just by the knowledge. For example, you are having a peaceful, restful mind, and you're going on the beach, and you see an ice cream vendor. Then the desire comes in that I want to have that ice cream and enjoy it, right? That's a simple desire. So your original state of peaceful, non-desirous mind is kind of polluted by the desire of having the ice cream. And then you have to fulfill that. Then you go back to your original peaceful state because you are happy that you ate the ice cream, and then that is dissolved. So the mistake we make it is, because we ate that ice cream, we are happy. That's not what they point out. What they say is, you are happy to begin with. You didn't have to have the ice cream. It was not an appetite. It was not an hunger. It was not a life-preserving thing. It was not natural. The desire happened in your mind, and then that traveled. So it's a thought that traveled, and then it disturbed your original peace, because that peace is the original state. And that one is disturbed by the desire of having ice cream. It's not criminal. It's not anything. I'm just telling you how the whole thing is explained. Okay. So then you don't have the desire to have the ice cream, but you have the desire to go in and find out where this is coming from. That is what meditation they did. They turned inward and they looked at that complete, peaceful, happy state, and they dwell in that. That is the realization. Realizing that we are made up of that peaceful, happy state. That's why we can stay there and that is the one that is disturbed by the desire. So what he's saying is the pursuits of the wise are not motivated by desire. Their actions are purified by the fire of wisdom. Whatever action they do, they were doing it for the Jagat, Hitacha, welfare of the world. So they were transcending these desires that are coming out of nowhere and then understanding them, and then they can have ice cream if they want to, but they are not going to be addicted by it because they know the whole movement of desire. What do? We take a scoop of ice cream, it's good, and let me have one more, let me have one more. We may have 3 or 4, and afterwards we kind of, disgusted about it and we don't want to touch the ice cream. The same thing happens in all addictive behavior. The one who is smoking, the one who is taking alcohol, the one who is happy that his point of view is right and he's addicted to that. That is the formation of ego. Once you form the ego, you are separating yourself from the pure, happy self, which is you, which is your Atman. Because you are separate from it, you want to come back to it. So your mind is restless, your mind is dull. All those things come because of the desire. I hope I have explained it correctly. Then the next verse says, whenever and wherever the unsteady, restless mind tends to stray away, then and there he should pull it back and brought it under his control. So this desire happens and people have this mind wavering, and then you have to identify right there and bring it back to your control. How you do it? Little by little, thinking of nothing else, he should attain stillness of mind and focus it firmly on the Atman. See, everything comes back to that. Okay, you have to do it by little, thinking of nothing else. He should attain stillness of mind and focus it firmly on the Atman. The stillness of mind, when you have that, then you can see the Atman behind it. What did Patanjali said? Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta vrittis, waves, nirodha, stopped. Then it becomes still mind. Then what happens? Tada drishte swarupe avasthanam. That swarupa, that Atma within, then it will be seen, it will become a drishyam once the mind is stilled. Okay, those 2 verses tells everything about Patanjali Sutras. So you have to observe that. So yoga by itself is not just the still mind. Yoga is when you unite with your Atman and then you realize that Atman is all over, it's only one, then you are in yoga. Then 24 hours you will be in yoga. Okay. Then once you realize that, samatvam yoga uchyate. That means equanimous. Everybody is equal. Everybody has this unmanifest divinity. Only thing is they are not able to see that. So that's what, once you are in yoga, you will be in samatvam. What does it yoga mean? You are uniting yourself back to the source, which is consciousness. So once your Atman is realized, that means you have realized that consciousness which is everywhere. Okay. And then what he says here in the next one is, he lives in supreme bliss who is self-disciplined, self-knowing, and free from greed and anger. So again, he's talking about the same thing we talked about, movement of thought. Greed is movement of wanting more. Anger is movement of desha. That means I want something, that's the desire, that is frustrated, so I get anger. So he lives in supreme bliss who is self-disciplined of this and who knows that this is the movement of thought that is creating all this. Then automatically the movement stops, your stillness, that means you are in bliss. Okay. Then 29. Having controlled the senses, mind, and intellect, free from desire, fear, and anger, with liberation on the high as the higher goal, the sage is freed from all bondages. Okay, that is what it is. Ultimately, the sage will get the moksha or freedom or liberation by going through all this. That means you have to control the senses, mind, and intellect, and free yourself from desire, fear, and anger. Then liberation as the goal, he attains the freedom from all. Okay. Once you experience that, then all knowledge is yours, not your personal egoic personality, but the universal self. Okay. Day 30. Okay. In that state, the yogi sees the Atman in all beings and all beings in the Atman. So once you identify the absolute consciousness is everywhere, remember verse 4, everybody has the divinity. Once you identify that within yourself into others, then everything will be seen as the reflection, as the manifestation of the divinity everywhere. That's why in Vishwarupa, they see not only Pandavas going to Krishna inside, but also Kauravas going there. So Arjuna gets really confused and says, how come these people did so many wrong things? He says, they are also part of me. So that's what I told my son when he was really angered by Trump's behavior. I said, there is no other, Ramana says. So not that we separate them by their behavior, we can identify the behavior as the not right and correct it, but not separate that person. This is the fundamental thing that helped Gandhi, that helped Nelson Mandela. See how that goes? Gandhi read Bhagavad Gita and said, we are all part of that divinity. Britishers also part of that. So Britishers are also my brothers. But what they are doing, I'm going to raise against that injustice. That Krishna also said, raise against the injustice. That's why he said, where a woman is dragged into a king's palace and her clothes were taken off, that she happens to be a queen, then what is the status of ordinary woman going on the street? That's why Gandhi said, true liberation is where a woman fearlessly, confidently can walk in the dead of night in the middle of the city. If that is not there, then you are not freed at all. Okay, so Krishna was saying you have to maintain dharma, the righteous path. To do that, you can fight, but don't consider the enemy as not being part of me, the ultimate consciousness. Once you have that in Gandhi, Gandhi did not hate Britishers. He rose against their injustice through ahimsa. That was taken care of. That was taken by Nelson Mandela. Imagine, Nelson Mandela was in prison for 28 years. And their movement for the liberation from the white oppression was 50 years. Half that 50 years he spent in jail. He comes out, I was just reading this yesterday, he had a debate with the then President de Klerk. He was a white. And in the debate, in terms of context or issues or actual facts, discussion, everywhere, de Klerk won completely. And then the debate ended. Everybody thought Nelson Mandela is done. and he's not going to win because de Klerk was so good in the debate. And afterwards, he comes to de Klerk and says, "Thank you for being a favored son of South Africa." Something like that. Then immediately de Klerk shake hands with him, but afterwards de Klerk said, "Then I knew I lost my election." What was hidden in that? Nelson Mandela did not separate de Klerk as somebody separate, as a white, as somebody who has oppressed them. He did not use that energy of hate or separation or really white difference, none of that. He said, "You are and me, we are all sons of South Africa, and you are a favorite son of South Africa too." That kind of inclusion made that country is not going to civil war. The whites are not going to be dominated by the blacks and killed because the blacks are the highest majority, maybe 75, something like that, So look at that. The effect of Bhagavad Gita on Gandhi, the effect of Nelson Mandela affected by Gandhi. Gandhi actually influenced Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King also played a big role in Nelson Mandela's thinking. So in the jail, when he was confined, when he was tortured and all that, he let go the hatred and everything from within his heart. Nelson Mandela did. And that's why he was a free man even while he was in the jail. And he brought in that same thing that everybody is equal, samatvam yoga uchyate. So that equanimous nature has brought the South Africa from brinks of civil war to present state of prosperity and living together and less violence. So you see the importance of the lessons of Bhagavad Gita. That is a compilation of Upanishads. Upanishads came from Vedas. So if you understand this simple principle and live accordingly, not being overwhelmed by the consumerism, commercialism, it's not Western or Eastern anymore. All over the world, people are suffering the same thing with the consumerism. Here, they're suffering in India too. Okay, so that is 30. Okay, 30. I will go through this next 10 also, so that we'll finish this off. Okay, 31 says, "But those who are eternally devoted to me and think of me alone, I provide them with what they lack and preserve what they already have. I will completely look after them, their welfare." So what Krishna is saying here is, even if you don't have the knowledge, if you are aware of the divinity, if you are devoted to the divinity, then all that they need, all that they have to have for survival are, and also protect them from the evil and protect them from other things. How? By having this knowledge. So just by devotion also you can achieve this path. But modern people cultivated intellect and logical mind so much, they have to be convinced. So their logical mind functions the highest. That is the bane of modern society. So you think everything can be under your intellect, and that's why all the problem. You don't have the peace of mind because your intellect taken over. Remember, intellect is under the Atman, not above Atman. Anyway, Krishna is saying you can have knowledge and you can have like that. Or you can be devoted to me and then everything will be taken care of for you. Okay, that means complete surrender to the divine nature. Then everything will be taken care of. Not that what you want, but what you need will be provided. Number 32, among the forms, the wise one is the ever steady. He is devoted to the supreme and he excels. I am dear to him and he is dear to me. Take Ramana Maharshi, always thought of Arunachala. He never lost his faith in Arunachala. He was a gnani, right? He was a supreme devotee too. What his devotion was? Silent meditation. Meditation what? On that absolute consciousness, staying in that soul, Atmast Chintana, Atmasthiti. He always stayed in that. And that's what he preached to do, the silent meditation, uninterrupted meditation on that absolute consciousness. Okay? Because he did that, he was ever steady. He was not tempted by any money, any reputation, anything. He never traveled anywhere either. Okay? He is devoted to the Supreme and he excels. He did excel. He was devoted to the Supreme. I am dear to him and he is dear to me. That example I could quote on this one. Okay. At the end of many cycles of birth and death, the wise one realizes that Vasudeva is everything and connects with the Supreme. Indeed, such a great souls are hard to find. So, like Ramana Maharshi, he attained enlightenment at the age of 16 years. That means he had done a lot of this sadhana before that birth. Only such people can really, Shankara was very young when he attained 8 years. He did the Atma Shatakam, the Nirvana Shatakam. Somebody asked him who he is, and he knew that he was not the body, he was not the mind, he was the absolute consciousness. So, Shivoham, that is what he said. Okay, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am Chidananda Rupa. Shiva means consciousness. Aham means me. I am that absolute consciousness. He talks about all sorts of things in the Atma Shatakam. Okay. Then Krishna says, when one abandons all selfish desire and is satisfied within the true self, he is said to be steady in intellect. Sthita prajna. How, when you don't have the movement of desire, or even if it comes and goes, good or bad, win or lose, he will be steady. That's what he was teaching Arjuna about, how to be steady irrespective of the results. How come Arjuna could take up the bow and conduct the war again? Because he knew that he is an instrument in the divine to kill those people. So he was not taking the agency that I am the one who is killing this. This was destined to me and this was said to me. So whether I lose or win, I'll be steady because I am not the one who is doing it. I should not be craving for the results. Okay. So when one abandons all selfish desires, work, but not for yourself, not for your results. Work unselfishly, work for the welfare of the world. And then is satisfied within the true self. Because you are establishing yourself with the absolute consciousness, you are satisfied with that, and you are not bothered about the work having results that way, this way, because all the results are destined by the Creator. Firmly established with that, they await for their purpose in life to unfold. Ramana Maharshi says somewhere, it is wise to let what is destined for you to unfold. So all the efforts that we are trying to do will not result in good one if the Creator doesn't intend that. That was Ramana Maharshi's message. It solved a lot of problems for me. Okay, he attains peace once he overcomes all desires. See how you overcome? Not by denying what is in it, by understanding what is in you, and then moderating it. And then eventually your mind overcomes the structure of desire, lives without cravings, and is free from ego or any sense of ownership. See, agency, results, orientation, all those things are gone when the ego is gone. So I'll read this once again. He attains peace once he overcomes all desires, lives without cravings, and is free from ego or any sense of ownership. What it is once you realize absolute consciousness, you are in bliss. Once you taste that, you will see how trivial the so-called joys and pleasures and worldly happiness is. And also you realize all these things come and go. They are transient. They don't have the life afterwards. And also they are kind of changing all the time. That's why Buddha said, Anityam, Anityam. Everything is not Nityam, not permanent, changing. Okay? Kshanikam, Kshanikam. That means momentary. They stay for a while and they go. But because we hold on to it, like a bond with a sun, we hold on to it, that gives a problem. But once you realize he is also a soul, but this bond that we have is only temporary because the soul survives, but we don't survive, right? But we hold on to that bond. That's why all the suffering. So, anityam, anityam, kshanikam, kshanikam, and sunyam, sunyam. Everything is zero, he said. But then these people will say everything is perfection. Everything is space. Space, within the space, everything is possible. That never changes. Why? All these things, once you read it, dukkam, dukkam, will, all these things, when you are in anityam, kshanikam, sunyam, then you have dukkam, that is suffering. But the cure for the suffering is realizing that you are that Atman, that absolute consciousness. Then what happens? You are in bliss. That is the Sat Chit Anand. So our people implored in this and then found that, and then they advised people to stay in that. At least some wise people like Ramana Maharshi, they sacrificed all these mundane things and then they realized the bliss and he stayed in the bliss 24 hours a day. That's why he always advocated everybody else also to tap into that. He said very simply, look, you sleep every night. When you sleep, you don't have your body, you don't have your mind, and you are very happy. Why didn't you continue the same thing in the day? Be aware of that only and don't be in the body, mind conscious. Don't be confined by the body, mind consciousness. Then what happens? You are always in bliss. If that is not possible, at least touch it for a few seconds a day, you will be very, very peaceful and happy. Okay, all these other things go. That is the main thing people may say is the bliss that can happen has to be experienced. It cannot be described, it cannot be told by anybody. But your mind is still, you are in bliss. And once you taste the bliss, you won't be going after all these desires and all the worldly things. Anyway, 36. He is dear to me whose peace is not shaken by anyone, who is at peace with everyone, and who is free from fear, restlessness, envy, and reckless joy. All these things are movement of thought. Once they are gone, then you are in peace. They said the lawful wife of mind is peace. That is stolen away or put aside by the movement of thought. That's why if you want peace, you have to understand the movement of thought and give it the right place. 37. He regards alike praise and criticisms, friend and foe, and honor and dishonor. He is above needless pursuits. He has truly gone beyond the gunas. The gunas are of the nature. Okay, from Shiva, Parvati comes. Shiva representing the absolute consciousness, and the world the Devi, and everything manifests out of it. And it has the mind, it has other. Once you are in that, you need the blessing of the Devi to achieve what the mind is wanting. But once you are beyond that, then the Devi mixes with the Shiva, Ardhanarishwar, right? So what he is saying here is, if you can really be Sthita Pragnata, then he regards praise and criticism alike. Both are same. Friend and foe, both are same. Honor and dishonor, same. And also, he is above the needless pursuits. That is what I will recommend for you guys. Look at your pursuits. What are you doing? Your job, your talks, your meetings, all the pursuits that you have, examine them. Don't judge them. Just see them, where you are, what you are doing, what's your goal. And then you will go beyond the gunas, because you are influenced by the gunas to perform certain way. If you are tamas, you will be dull. If you are rajas, you will be very active. If you are balanced, you are in sattvic. But you have to go beyond sattva too. That's why you take the 3 pradakshinas around the Devi or Deva in the temple 3 times. Means you want to get rid of these 3 gunas, or you want not to get rid of, go over and dominate and get them under your control. So your body, if you pay attention in the morning when you get up, it's stiff and dull and does not want to move. That is tamas. Once you discover where the tamas is, you try to move that. Then first time you bend, little difficult. Second time, little easier. 10th time, it will bend better. So you move that by doing that rajas guna, and then you will get into sattva, where you don't have dullness, or you don't have restlessness or continuous movement. That is basically what in the mind is. Mind either restless or dull. Okay, but once you realize the role of mind, it comes into sattva, where it has the right movement and right inertness, and that combination is life. But truly wise one will go over all these gunas. Otherwise, you are the victim of whatever nature you have, and then you will go. Your vata, pitta, kapha are the energies that are generated by these gunas, and then you perform according to that nature. Okay, and you will not be able to go over them. Okay? But those who find joy, satisfaction, and fulfillment solely in the Atman have nothing left to accomplish. Once you turn inside, once you identify your absolute consciousness, you have nothing else to achieve. Okay. Number 39, they have nothing to gain by performing action and nothing to lose by renouncing action. They are not dependent on anyone or for anybody, for anything. Ramana was like that. He never wanted anything from anybody. He didn't want to accept money. He didn't want to accept any donations. He didn't want to accept any gifts or anything like that. It's very rare for him to ask for anything. He did not ask for it because he didn't have to. He is fulfilled completely. They have nothing to gain by performing action and nothing to lose by renouncing. They are already perfect. They are there. Okay? And the number 40, we're coming to the close. Satisfied with what comes on its own accord, even-minded in success and failure, rising above all the duties and free from envy, one is not affected even when involved in action. So this is the real karma yoga. Even when you are acting and you are in action, in your roles, then you are to do it completely with the knowledge that you are not doing it, and you are not for the results because the results are determined by the creator, then you are in complete attention because your movement of thought stopped and you perform that action much better. That is yoga, karma, kaushalam. The kaushalam comes because you are attentive, because you don't have interfering thoughts, and you are doing it with the devotion to the God. These three things. Okay? Satisfied with what comes on its own accord. He won't perform for anything. He will let things come to him. Gandhi was like that. He surrendered to the God. Whatever you present God, I will do it. Okay? I will do it with a sense of it is not me who is doing, it is being done through me. And also, I'm not going to bother about whatever result comes, whatever result you do, I will have the prasada buddhi. I will take it as prasada, as blessed food of the God. You have to achieve everything like that. Okay, what is a, remember this, read it again. Day 40, chapter 4, verse 22. Satisfied with what comes on its own accord, even-minded in success and failure. That means whatever is presented, he will do it. He won't really plan, execute, and all that. He will see what the life presents to him. And then whatever the success or failure, he doesn't mind it. This is the difference between ancient people and us. Ancient people really looked for direction from God. And once it is given, they did not have the ego and they were not profit motivated. What are we? We think we have to plan, execute everything in our life. Our ego determines everything. And then our ego thinks, I am the one who is doing it. And then when it fails, the ego suffers quite a bit. Understand this very well, then you will function very well too. And free from envy, one is not affected. See, why don't you have envy? Because everybody is equal. You are not going to envy your brother who has more because he is also equal to you in your mind. He has things, but he is not unequal in any other way. He may be superior in material positions, but that's none of your business because if you go after them, you know the suffering too. So just by changing your interior, you will be free of that envy because you realize that is coming from your mind or from your intellect. You are not your mind or intellect. You are above them, right? First one is body, second one is senses, next one is mind, next one is intellect, and over all of them is Atma. So what you are is Atma. From there, everything flows down. So you are going to overcome your envy. One is not affected even when involved in action. So when you are in action, if you don't have this, your own direction, thinking that I am going to dictate my life rather than the God is dictating my life. And then whatever he does is my prasada. And then I don't have this ego sense that I am doing it. Everything against the modern consumerist society. They think materialism is everything, living with all these human emotions is everything, and the ego is everything, and all the things that come to the ego are natural, and also because everything is only winning. You have to win, win, win. Anybody loses is kind of looked down. Everybody wins, is looked at it with envy. So what is the result? Ultimate stress. To escape the stress, they have addictions. All these problems are gone once you discover the bliss within you and then stay in it and then perform action at the direction of the creator, accepting the results as a prasada and really not bound by them. Okay, 41. So then he says, Arjuna, the Lord renders equally in the hearts of all beings, resides equally in the hearts of all beings, and by Maya causes them to move about as though driven by a machine. So what's happening? Consciousness creates the conscious beings. The conscious beings are veiled by the Maya. What is the Maya does? It is a veil. It kind of covers the real you, and then your mind and body thinks that you are that. That is Maya. And by that Maya, you are really circulated like you are on the machine. Somebody is tied to a machine, and the machine is making you go round and round and round. 42. Take refuge in him alone with your whole being, and by his grace you will attain that state of eternal peace. This is about surrender. He is talking about take refuge in him alone, in the God alone, with your whole being, not just your body, mind, but your Atman also. And by his grace, the grace comes when you make your effort. You are making an effort from outside to inside, and inside the grace pulls you. Okay, but if you don't make any effort and then you just want to be outward all the time, you don't want to go inside, there won't be any grace in your life. So take refuge in him alone. That means you surrender to the power within. With your, that's another thing. There is no outward God, there is no outward guru according to all the Bhagavad Gita. There is a divinity within, that divinity is everywhere, and that is our guru too. So if you push yourself, you make a deliberate effort of meditation uninterruptedly, 24 hours a day, then you will go inside. As you are going inside, you will be pulled by the power within, because your mind is silent, your body at ease. Then that power pulls you within. So you have to push from outside and allow the pull to get you inside. And then you're really in bliss all the time. Okay? So I will conclude this with saying one thing about Vedanta and also all the spiritual knowledge is, what is the purpose of all this? Why we are so much? It is because Achyadika Dukkha Nivritti. Achyadika means extreme. Dukkha, suffering. Nivritti, removal. And not only just removing the suffering, but also Paramananda Prapti. Parama means extreme. Ananda, bliss. Prapti, gaining. So you will gain the bliss and you will remove all suffering from your life if you realize this truth and allow it to operate through you. Okay? Now I conclude with Namaste, the Indian greeting. I am bowing down to you. Who is bowing down to whom? The divine force that I am, bowing down to the divine force within you. Namaste.